This week's episode is brought to you by Blue Harvest Vintage. Are you a collector? Blue Harvest love to help you find that missing piece you need to complete your collection. They have extensive stock of vintage Star Wars vehicles and mint-on-card action figures, as well as new The Force Awakens and Black Series items. Blue Harvest have Funko Pops, Lego, Dinky, Corgi, Matchbox and more. Everything a collector could possibly need. If they don't stock it, then let them know, and their knowledgeable staff will be only too pleased to help. Head to Morley Market in Leeds to see the life-size Darth Vader. Alternatively, reach out to Blue Harvest on Twitter at Blue Harvest UK, Facebook, Blue Harvest Vintage Collectibles, a website, blueharvestvintage.co.uk, or email at blueharvesttoys@gmail.com.
Talk Star Wars is a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Follow at SW Commonwealth on Twitter and take your first steps into a larger world.
Welcome to TSW After Darkside. First you get the money, then you get the fully armed and operational battle station, then you get the women. Hoo-ha!
I've been looking at this in a lot of podcasts, especially if they're not about any particular subject, we'll do fortnightly.
Right.
It's quite common.
Right.
I've noticed. We're kind of, I mean, obviously we're news-based as well as input-based, so that's a bit different. But the ones
a lot
who
of the
are
shows
just
I listen to are weekly, and that's why I've sort of settled on a weekly release pattern. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. He said the show that does 1 million downloads, the guys earn thousands a week.
bloody hell.
Must be miserable.
Which is pretty good. But obviously, I've got some sort of reliable download figures now. Well, I say reliable. I don't know how reliable they are, but they're making more sense to me now.
Okay.
I think we're looking at about 4,200 downloads a month.
Wow.
Can I say something really contentious?
Go on.
I'm speaking honestly. I don't think we're ever going to get 1 million downloads with just one topic.
What did you
I
drop
think
out?
you might-
sorry,
you
sorry,
might
Steve,
wanna
I dropped out
consider-
there. What did you say?
That's right. I said I don't think you're ever going to get 1 million with just one topic,
Why?
like Star Wars. I
Why?
think you might want to consider branching out into film again, into all
No,
to do
no.
like.
Not on this.
I
Not
see what
on
you're
this
saying.
podcast. I'd rather have a focus. Like I said this to Jay this afternoon, that the reason the Movie Geeks film cast got laborious for me was because we weren't getting any downloads, and it's because that field was just too jam packed with quality casts. And if you're gonna get 1 million downloads of an episode, then you're Kevin Smith or Chris Hardwick.
Yeah.
We're never going to get there, but the Star Wars brand will push
With
our
that attitude.
downloads up. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Star
true.
Wars brand will push our downloads up, and we'll be the only Star Wars podcast on the network.
We got fucking Christopher Walken. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Wow, you know.
But I'm
mean-
I'm trying to bring the rest of the guys over as well. He's looking
Okay.
into
Tumbling
Generation
and,
X-wing and
nice.
tumbling. So.
Okay, that's awesome.
What, and combining all of us together?
No, having
just
their shows
having
on the
all
network.
three
as
on the
well.
network. So we wouldn't be we'd go from being there being no Star Wars podcast to 3.
Well,
Is there any
two
future
and one
in
podcast.
combining the all three together, rotating the hosts, splitting the profits?
I think, if nothing else, there is a significant potential, and I think it would be very well received for us to have some sort of super show where it would be like we could do it over Google Hangouts. There's no, as far as I know, there's no hard limit on how many people you can have in a hangout. It's certainly it's certainly at least 10. So you could have people dropping in and out depending on time zones. We could do like a sort of, handover almost.
Well, there
Just
was.
like, that's the kind of thing we could do for charity or something.
A few years ago, Slash Film did 24-hour podcast.
Yeah.
And they
I'm
did
not
it
suggesting we go that
on
far
Ustream.
straight
No,
away.
but there's,
But
I
there's definitely an interest.
I put the
I think.
feelers out this week and asked people if they'd be interested in a live.
Yeah,
version
I
of
saw
this.
that.
And,
And thanks to automation, I retweeted it too.
yeah,
I've
a
got to
couple
send
of
you
people.
something.
I haven't retweeted a single thing manually this week. It's been fucking great.
Yeah,
Can I got to say this quietly? Can I just send you a picture of the girl who's just followed me on Twitter?
If you must.
Was it one of
I
those?
must.
Hi, look at my tits. tweet?
Oh yeah.
I
I
had
will
one.
not. I will
I had
not
one that
give
was
you your details on
pure-
Twitter.
pure
But if you
porn,
follow me on
it's gonna
Snapchat with same
How
name as
can
other
I-
girls,
Yeah, that's the one. Snapchat.
Yeah.
It's always
How
got
can
a lot
I
of those.
I get a lot of
choose a
those followers for a couple of days
Scooby?
and then they drop off again.
How can I choose a Scooby
Well,
I'm in
you
the.
put all the Scoobies together, Steve, and then you evaluate them based on their
found it.
Scoobiness, and then you make a decision.
Okay.
Oh, the Scubosity
Okay,
factor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Here
it.
it comes.
Divide the
Scooby.
Scooby by the Scrappy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
that's who
honestly-
followed you, Steve.
I
That's
tell
who
you now,
followed
there
you.
is no way.
That's a 46-year-old
That is
fat
100%.
man that followed you,
Steve,
and he
Let's
sent
call
you
them
that
stuff
picture.
funny.
photo.
While she is made of all natural materials, you have to look at where.
Can I just show you? If you find her on Twitter, she runs a fitness channel,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and she says, "I don't like to share pic on Twitter, but you can add my Snapchat."
Yeah, they're bullshit, Steve.
Yeah,
Oh, my God.
Actually, let me send you something.
You'll
this.
probably find
No,
the
no,
girl in
listen.
that picture.
Dozens.
might
No,
run a
she's
picture.
real.
This will
She's real.
solve
she's
all our
not.
problems, Steve.
No,
I
she's
got
not.
an
I
email
promise
this
you.
morning from a
I'm
Nigerian
joking.
prince who's telling me that he's got loads of money in his bank account and he wants to give me some.
I'll tell you what,
he's
Mark.
a
He
prince
wants to
from
get back to
Nigeria.
That's real.
because he's kept keeping me waiting for fucking ages.
That's
Yeah,
definitely real.
It's legitimate, isn't it? Because he's a prince. Princes
Yeah.
don't lie.
Prince.
And she's real. You can see she's real. Look in her eyes, for God's sake.
Yes, there's a
You can
human
see
being.
she's real.
There is, yeah, she is, but that's not
Clearly
the
a woman,
fat.
Steve.
That's not the
It's not the
46-year-old
dispute.
fat bloke you've been talking to, Steve.
Don't get in my eyes. That's who I'm looking at.
Yeah.
In my heart, that's who she is.
You know?
It's like
Well,
have you seen the Futurama episode where they go into the new internet, like the year 3000 internet? It's all virtual reality and stuff.
Right.
And Bender changes his outfit to be a sexy nurse, and convinces her sort of, like a kind of stereotypical fat, like, bespectacled nerd, not to talk to him or her for like $10 a minute, and then she just stands there awkwardly for like 10 seconds, and then just goes, "So how about them Knicks?" in Bender's voice as well.
Bender.
Yeah.
Steve, why aren't you laughing at the word Bender?
Good
No,
point.
I was reading tweets
That's it.
about Hinkley.
Look
From
at
that bloke,
Oh, you guys are all just.
What bloke?
that fat bloke you've been talking to.
What bloke? No, she, the gorgeous one,
Yeah.
has now asked
Hey.
me if it's just said,
Gordon.
if you give me $40 on
Yeah.
your card, I will send you a picture of my Minky Moo Moo.
Oh, that's brilliant.
There's no way
It
she
must be real.
If
No
that
way.
if that photograph she takes has a watermark on it,
Mm.
then she's downloaded
Stock
it off the
photos of-
internet.
Then it must be real because
Stop
watermarks
photo.
are hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's all
high stock
real.
photo.
Beverage.
Oh, I know her. She works for Getty. Yeah.
She must be
Wow.
related to Balthazar.
Tell you what,
Getty.
Mark, I'm so glad I've set up the automation on both accounts.
Yeah.
Between E14 and me, it's now like nearly 1,100 followers, which is it's tripled in the last 6 months. It's mental.
Wow. Yeah. I couldn't do.
What's weird is
I
this
couldn't
month
do
could
a
be
Christopher
in
Walken
terms
well.
of in terms of hits, it could be. Oh, it's crazy. In terms
Crazy.
of hits, this month might be the best month in terms of E14 for like 2 out of the 3 stats, and I haven't released a podcast this month.
Bloody hell.
That's because of my magical link.
That's probably it.
It
So
is.
I think
I love
know.
that template you're using, Paul. I
So
know-
much so, you're
I know
stealing
you-
it.
I now use it on 2 of my sites.
You're stinky.
how many sites do you have now?
I've got the
iTunes
Star, I
HD
set up
movie
the iTunes HD movies. I set that up today with the profile that the template that Paul's been using.
You do sound like a market trader when you just think of your websites as stands.
Yeah,
Talk Star Wars,
yeah,
iTunes HD movie deals,
yeah, and then
Movie Geeks film news,
Obviously-
£3 a pound.
Talk Star Wars is thoroughbred, and the rest of them are all nags. But
Of course, well, no,
Oh,
I
no,
mean
the
some of them are
Commonwealth.
fucking glue, mate.
the Commonwealth looks pretty good, right?
Mm.
I set that one up
Yeah,
this week.
it's awesome.
Is that live?
Yes, mate. Yeah, it's
Well,
just
where's the link?
it's just
Goddamn
go to
son.
StarWarsCommonwealth.tumblr.com.
Ooh,
Where, mate?
what? Hey, what?
StarWarsCommonwealth.tumblr.com, and you'll see it. That's why I asked you for that template, Paul.
Oh, I know that. I didn't know it was actually live and stuff. Common.
It took me about 45 minutes to get it up and running, and then I just tweaked it this week.
Oh, up and running, sorry.
You didn't listen for the rest of my sentence, did you?
I just heard get it out. It doesn't take you 45 minutes to get it out when you're with me.
No.
3.5 hours.
Let's get together.
Yeah, and that's with 5 bloody purple
you mean
pills.
Gordon.
5 purple pills.
Yeah, you
Realise
can't do
you
the
got the wrong-
blue.
Got the wrong one.
No,
right?
no. He can't. Blue doesn't do nothing for him.
Oh,
He has to have
because
purple.
This is literally just a landing deck, Mark. Yeah.
That is it, mate. That's all that's
Okay.
for. Because at the moment, we're still waiting
Exchange.
for iTunes to give us permission to dress up the provider page
Alright,
in
okay.
iTunes. So at the moment, it's a pretty sparse
Fucking
affair.
iTunes.
I'm disappointed, by the way, Mark, that we weren't able to convince Blast Points yet.
Well,
Because they're really good.
I said to Kyle today,
Yeah.
because he said he'd approached somebody else and they said no. Well,
Okay.
they will say no. He said that they're being polite and they're saying they'll think about it. But
Who is it?
can't
What did he
remember.
say?
Unmistakably
Okay.
Star Wars, I think.
Oh, I know them, yeah.
But I said to Kyle, at the moment, I don't know how to add another show because we don't have control over the provider page. I have to wait for
Oh, right, I see.
iTunes to do whatever they're doing
Hmm.
and then say, yes, here you go. And then we can dress it
Yeah,
up a little bit.
in which case you could start being a bit more formal with your approaches, I guess.
can do
'Cause at
what
the
I've
moment
done
it's
on
kind of
the-
sounding things out, isn't it?
Yeah, what I've done on the Tumblr at the moment, I will do to the provider page in iTunes. And then when we say to people, would you be interested in being a part of this thing? They can go to it and see, and it's not just 3 pieces of podcast artwork on a big white background.
Yeah.
It'll be all broken
No, I
down
get
with everybody's links, everybody's Twitter links.
No, I get it. I totally understand that. Yeah, I mean, just I've been kind of tweaking bits and pieces on web pages now because I used to have a really shitty podcast page on E14 with just really basic links and everything, and now I've tried to jazz it up a bit. So I've now because now I'm using Crowdfire to share that page like twice a day or something.
Right.
I'm doing the same thing with mine. I'm trying to sort of jazz it up a touch, just
That's
make it a
cheap,
little
Paul,
bit
isn't it?
less.
In it just.
Cheap
Well-
at half the price.
Where's the catch? What's that?
There ain't
Is that
one.
on GoDaddy?
Yes, 1 year, 99p.
Oh,
Can you grab that for me, Paul? And
What am I looking
I'll
at?
PayPal you.
All right, I'm
No,
doing it now.
StarWarsCommonwealth.com.
nice.
And then just point it at that Tumblr if you wouldn't mind, Paul.
Yeah, I'll do that for you.
I'm dead serious, Mark. I have considered picking up robwade.vision.
Have you?
Yeah, because it goes with my Twitter and stuff, and it would be a nice kind of almost like a portfolio
Yeah.
page for me as a kind of
That's
as
it.
a
On Squarespace, they call
trying
them
to-
cover pages.
yeah. I'm trying to get into the mindset of technically I am a personality now. You know what I mean? It's something I'm not really used to, so I'm having to talk myself into.
You've got
something.
personality. I've always
No,
thought you've had
but what I mean is, I appreciate that. Thank you, darling. But what I mean more is, I've never really thought of myself as a,
Human.
as a yeah, well that too, but mainly because I'm cold, emotionless cyborg. But at the same time, firmware updates are fast and furious, so it's all good.
Steve Robb said firm. And then
And
he said
fast.
your name. He said firmware. Right.
That could
are
be your
we-
Twitter name. If you ever drop the nature thing, stop hugging those. If the trees ever stop reciprocating the hugs,
They don't reciprocate hugs anyway. It's all a filthy lie.
that's slanderous.
Oh, that's really crap.
There
We
you
get to
go.
the I get to the cart, Mark, and it
Yeah.
goes up to £8.
Oh, how? How was that?
So it's
a thing?
99p except for the other bits. Nice, 99p plus £8 tax.
It's not worth £8 at this point, Paul.
No, it's just gone up to £8 instantly with no ifs or buts.
Supply and demand. You all saw it.
What is it, tax? Seven-
No, it literally
£7
the
a
price
penny
just literally changes. Literally, the price just changes.
Mark, do you want to hear something fucking hilariously terrifying?
I
when,
don't need to
um,
know terrifying things. I've got enough
Well,
of that.
it's only terrifying if you think of it in terms of context. But so when Emotionally 14 first launched, it was Emotionally 14 all spelled out using words.com. We lost the domain because Brad stopped renewing it. So when I came back to rebranding it, I couldn't get with words. Do you want to know how much they wanted for it?
How much?
£1,800.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Now, bearing in mind, I've made 17 cents in YouTube advertising since I monetized. And that was 3-4 weeks ago, I guess. But it's ridiculous, isn't it? Like £1,800 for a fucking webpage, especially as I
it's
could get
not good.
emotionally14.com for £8
Rob, you just
and have continued to do so.
what you just said about bread. Do you want that taken out? Because this is all recording.
Oh, shit, you're recording?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
if
made
you
a note of the
wouldn't
time code. I'll just cut that out, mate. That's
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, just say we lost the domain name.
Yeah, that's all right. I can do that.
Yeah, Yeah, if
I've
you
made a
wouldn't
note
mind
of it
that,
because that's all right.
it didn't. It completely slipped my mind.
Before I go sliding that in, I've made a couple of changes to the podcast this week.
Bastard.
Okay.
So
To the
I've done-
podcast. Or to the
We're not.
subject?
Yeah, we're not invited.
to the podcast.
It's about Battlestar this
This
week.
is your goodbye meeting. I'm going to work in New York.
One fucking
Wouldn't that be
interview, and
lovely? One interview.
he's got delusions of grandeur.
Indeed, yeah. No, I did some pre-recorded drop-ins. So,
okay.
I did something at the start of the show that says we're a proud member of the Commonwealth.
Yep.
No,
And
fake
then-
quiz. Sorry.
Because of something Steve mentioned a couple of weeks ago that people probably switch off right at the end when we say thanks very much.
Right.
I've done a pre-record of the sponsorship thing.
Okay.
So that's going to go straight after the Generation X-Wing ad.
Okay.
Will be me for like 30 seconds or so. So at the end of the show, I won't be doing all that
Are you
anymore.
replacing the Blue Harvest one then?
No, that's in there. It goes from Blue Harvest to the we're a proud member of the Commonwealth, then to the show opening. Then we'll have the Tumbling Saber ad about an hour in, and then 20 minutes later we'll have the Generation X-Wing, the sponsorship thing. Then we'll come back for a little bit, and then we'll just sign off with a goodbye and waving like those characters from Rainbow.
Okay.
Right, that's 20 minutes of After Darkside material.
Yes.
So let's get into. I'm just going to stop there.
How does that work?
How does that work?
1 hour 59?
Yes, maybe it was 1 hour 59.
You're using an Apple product as well, aren't you?
I am, yeah. It's my own stupid fault. What was you saying, Paul, about that?
That figure looks quite tall. Looks taller than her.
Could be.
K2SO?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, wow. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that is. I'm particularly interested in this now, though. I wish you
What if
hadn't said a bloody word.
What if they send K2 in to clear the room of the Royal Guards so that they can get in there and salvage whatever's left to gain?
Can droids kneel?
It's got knees.
CGI droid.
True.
I like it. I like the theory.
Yeah, I like that theory a lot.
Could that be a tank? Blimey. I mean, you look at it and you initially think it's just like, is it a reactor? But you wouldn't have the reactor exposed with people standing around the damn things, would you really?
Yeah, why have them there?
It looks like a tank.
Yeah.
Or
Crystal chamber?
Is it did we ever see the change between chewed up Anakin and Darth Vader suit? Is Anakin in there?
We've speculated on this in the past, and that seems to be the prevalent theory: is that he might be recovering from a big battle, or trying to heal himself between.
That's the one I come back to. But it does beg the question: who is that going into the room?
Yeah,
that's Krennic.
It doesn't seem that Krennic wouldn't. I don't think Krennic would be hooded. I think he'd be sort of walking around. He strikes me as a kind of person. He's got a hood on
his cloak.
Yeah, but he strikes me as the kind of person from first glance who's in love with that uniform. Who's so proud of, so pleased with himself when he's in it. He doesn't strike me as the kind of person who'd want to cover it up.
Unless there's a Inquisitor.
What do you mean cover it up? This is a back shot. I mean, he could be completely open caped at the front, but it's protocol to be hooded. I don't know.
Possibly, but I mean, it's a black cloak from the looks.
No, that's just the light.
Maybe.
That's an Apollo 11 shot.
Yeah, possibly.
Even though the sun was shining, they were still in the black. It was very strange.
Yeah. I've heard
surreal. Yeah,
I've heard some stuff. I've been watching these freaky videos. I've heard some stuff about the people debunking. I'll tell you, it was Anonymous. Have a YouTube channel. I was watching them answer. Anonymous. Yeah, they were answering the conspiracy theory about the moon landings. And saying that those illuminated areas of deep shadow on the lander and things were being illuminated by the light reflecting off of the astronaut suits.
Oh, okay.
Because they were so highly reflective, and you got all that raw sunlight hitting them. Their suits were illuminating those dark areas. Whereas everyone was saying there has to be another light source. Well, it doesn't.
No. To be honest,
there is.
Do you know how many other light sources are on the moon? From not light source, but a light
reflector.
Yeah, virtually every rock there bounces around like fury because obviously there's almost no refraction.
No.
So if there's a large rock behind them, that's going to push that light back directly as well. So there's a million ways light can move around on the moon. That lack of atmosphere thing does all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, that was another answer to the old why wasn't there any dust kicked up from the lander and all that sort of thing. It was a really interesting video. I enjoyed it very much.
Because Kubrick forgot to order extra dust that day.
There was a thing about that as well. I watched about how they'd spoken to. Apparently, there was an interview with Kubrick saying, "I recorded the moon landings." Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, he was commissioned by, was it Warner Brothers, to do it for NASA or something?
Well, that's what the apocryphal tale is. But this video I watched was very compelling of watching Stanley Kubrick sort of tell this story. Until you saw the outtakes, and it was a bloke screaming and shouting at this actor who looked like Kubrick, whose name was Tom, I think. And the director was going, "For God's sake, Tom, you're supposed to be saying it as if you're him." And he's going, "Okay, I thought I was supposed to be telling," he was getting all scatty, this guy. And it really demystified the whole thing. Otherwise, I'd have bought into it, I think.
Well, Kubrick's wife said it was the case.
Right.
But Kubrick's daughter said, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she only actually talked about it. She only talked about it as early as I think early this year or last year or so. But Kubrick's wife maintained it for several years. So, but she was as mad as a bicycle too.
Well, that'll do it. Yeah,
that helps a lot. Other vehicles are available to be mad like.
See, you're getting into the spirit of. I do that on the podcast on the Crazy Train all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Anytime we mention a branded product, I go, "Other blank are available."
And other blanks are available.
In an upcoming YouTube video, I go. I talk about eBay, and I go. Other auction sites are they available? They're probably available.
There's got to be one, sure.
Yeah, at least one.
Seabay. One of the progenitors.
Things from the sea.
Talking of YouTube, we had a comment on one of the episodes of the After Darkside this week.
Yeah. From
someone we mentioned on the main show, Matt Keegan from Australia.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt Qui-Gon.
And Matt Qui-Gon,
Matt Qui-Gon, yeah. That's a really good... I might have to nickname
as a T-shirt.
Matt Qui-Gon. So he'd written this letter, this email to, or this comment, I guess.
Oh, I see this. I know this one.
And I took a section out of the main show, and I asked Matt if it was okay to tell this story on the After Darkside, because I thought it was very much in keeping with some of the recent conversations we've been having.
Okay.
So if you'll indulge me, I'll just kick this around because I think this is pretty cool. So this is the bit that didn't make the main show.
Mm-hmm.
So after listening to a few Talk Star Wars downloads, I finally listened to an After Darkside, the latest episode, and really enjoyed it. Didn't know what to expect, but it sounded just like the banter me and my mates waffle on after a few too many. The dream story, especially Paul's, jogged a memory that I had to share with you. It's not Star Wars related, but bear with me. In a recent dream, I made a phone call to the house I grew up in when I was a kid. I remember dialing it just for laughs, just to see who lived there now.
Oh, you sent us this, didn't you?
Yeah. Someone on the other end picked up, and I can hear this young boy. He said hello and introduced himself, and I realise I'm talking to the younger version of myself. I'm 43, and I'm talking to the me from 35 years ago. In the dream, I tried to give him information that will help him avoid some of the stupid mistakes I made growing up. He says he can't really hear me properly, and then hangs up, and that's the end of the dream.
All right.
But when I wake up the next morning, I remember, as clear as day, when we first got a telephone hooked up at the old house back in 1981, my dad let me and my brother each call a friend because it was a big deal for us. A few days later, my dad let me answer it for the first time. It was the first phone call I ever took, and it was such a bad line that I hang up after a few attempts at conversing with someone on the other end. Did that old memory resurface and create the dream? Or did I really once receive a call from my future self? Have I watched Jim Caviezel talk to Dennis Quaid too many times in Frequency? Whatever it was, it certainly freaked me out. Prior to the dream, I couldn't remember our old phone number, but I've since confirmed with my dad that the number that I called was the old number from that house.
Wow.
That's mind-bending.
It's wonderful. It speaks to, because I'm of the opinion, I don't know about you guys, but I'm of the opinion that the former is true. That his brain has kind of tucked that away somewhere in the deepest recesses and then just drawn it back out for whatever reason. I mean, obviously there's dream interpretation is a kind of a thing that people can do, isn't it? Obviously there's I don't know how scientifically kind of grounded it is, but there are people who interpret dreams and kind of look at them in terms of symbolism and stuff like that, right?
Yes, yeah.
So it's entirely possible that something like that could be significant of something else, and that's just how it's manifested itself. But the fact that the brain is capable of doing that is nothing short of incredible.
Yeah. And there's a cycle that you're in as well, where things like, Paul, your dream that you had where you were back in the 80s and you were slightly panicked.
That was the worst part of mine. It was ridiculously real, and it took me 5 attempts to, wake myself up, shouting in my sleep, enough's enough, wake up, and it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the trigger? So when you get those situations, it's like, what is my brain doing? Why is my brain refusing?
Yeah.
Is there something important that needs to happen? Is there something I need to experience and remember later? But you can get as D&M as you want with these situations, can't you? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that one I had that was, everything about it was so, all my senses were engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And I must have just been under, so that when I did snap out of it, I snapped back very, very quickly out of this dream, and all the dream elements kind of went away. The ethereal nature of it, the light and what have you.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there's, I'm with you, Rob. I think it's probably the memory that prompted that, but also, what's to say his memory of having answered that phone as a little boy is 100% reliable.
That's also true, yeah, because it might be that the brain's kind of filled in the gaps and gone, oh, it was exactly like that, when actually it was similar but not the same, sort of thing. Yeah, because I've had that before.
Yeah, he's slotted the information into the dream that reframes the memory of having answered the phone and not really been able to use it properly. Essentially, I would guess.
And it's not a conscious thing. It's just something that you do because your brain wants to try and. I mean, the brain is always trying to reconcile stuff.
Yeah.
That doesn't fit. Like I've heard one before. When you get a song in your head, and you can't get it out of your head.
Oh, I had that a couple of weeks ago.
I've heard, and I've tried it, and it's worked for me. That if you think about the end of the song, it's easier to get rid of it from the loop. Okay. And the reason is because your brain is trying to resolve it. That's what I've heard. I don't know how true that is, how much scientific validity it has, but
it's funny you should say that, because I had a song by Eminem trapped in my head.
Okay.
For days, and it was driving me to distraction, where I was stuck in this one section of the song that was going over and over and over again.
Which song? Out of interest.
It's called "Bitch Please 2." It's one of his.
It's one of the album tracks.
One of his less pleasant. The only reason it popped up is because there was a Eminem song in Suicide Squad. Even though I haven't seen the film, I've seen the clip where there's this Eminem song in there, and I thought, oh yeah, I remember that song because it was quite a few years old now. It's like 15 years old or something.
Yeah.
So I put it on Apple Music, and suddenly a bunch of other Eminem things started popping up, and then that played, and it is quite unpleasant and quite hateful, but it's not a terrible thing to listen to. The hook and everything is quite I quite like, but once that was trapped in there, and so all the lyrics were trapped in there, and they're all really vile lyrics, over and over and over. But I couldn't get rid of it.
On a tangent with songs, and I also get it with dialogue. For no reason at all, a song from 1984 will pop into my head. I'll sing it, and it'll be the next song played on the radio.
Oh, that's fun when that happens.
Yeah, or for no reason at all,
yeah,
a line from Friends will pop into my head. Okay, and that's the exact episode that's played that evening.
There's I had a conversation at dinner with some friends a couple of weeks ago about precognition, and I was sort of explaining it to my friend, who's a perfectly grounded person, and I said, I think you'll find that there's an argument to be made that it could be something to do with chemistry. Perhaps you're not hydrated enough, but whatever reason, you start to form short-term memories in the same area of your brain that's responsible for the formation of long-term memories.
Right.
So when something's happening, when you get deja vu, as you're experiencing it, instead of experiencing it in short term, you're remembering it as if it's a long-term memory, and that's why you're saying, "Oh, hang on, I've done this before," and everything seems to be so familiar.
Yeah. One side of your brain's working infinitesimally faster than the other one, isn't it? So it's a catch-up situation.
Yeah, and it makes you think, I've experienced this, I've done this, and maybe that's what you've experienced, Paul. Maybe you're hearing that line and then remembering that line simultaneously as something you've preconceived.
Yeah.
How would that explain that episode being on 5 hours later happened to be the one line that was in my head earlier that day?
5 hours is clearly just your age, Paul. That's the only possible explanation.
Seriously, I'll start whistling like a Pink Floyd track, and it's the next track on the radio.
That's weird. It's just weird.
And I'm like, what? And I mean, I said this to Nat on many occasions, or I'll just sing a line from a track in the kitchen, and that'll be like, oh, they're playing that song you were singing a minute ago.
I've had that before. Where I've been sitting there listening on the. I've had my iPod on, and I'm listening to a song, and I'm like, what are the odds that the next song on this album will play on shuffle? And it's got to be like infinitesimally small, and yet next song will be. And I've checked to make sure. Like, hang on, I thought I was shuffling, and I'll check it, and I was shuffling, but it still played the next song off the album. It's only ever happened. I can count the number of times it's happened on one hand in all the years I've had MP3 players, but it always freaks me out when it happens because statistically it probably shouldn't.
Yeah. Do you want to hear something that freaked me out last week? And this is the absolute truth, because I told this story last Friday when I was out when I was to some friends for dinner, and I told this story because after I got off the podcast last week, I sat and did some editing, and I was up. Actually, I was up till 2, editing all the versions of the show, just so it would buy me the time the next day. And so I'm sitting in the living room, TV's off. I live in the woods, so there's no... Not literally. I live in a house, but the house is...
He does, everybody.
You turn the TV off because there's no electricity.
Yeah, and there's no...
He's editing because he's only got one battery to last a week.
There's no roads that go past the front or the rear of my house, right?
That must be nice.
Yeah,
rather than living on the forest moon of fucking Endor.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, with fewer...
and as if by magic, some fucking twat comes past.
Yeah. Well, you have to really go out your way. You can't walk past my house either, because it's not on it's not on a road. There's no public footpath that goes past my house. You have to if you're at my house, then you have to come here intentionally, right? So I'm sitting here like about 1:45 or 1:30 editing, and I just glance out the front window, which essentially is just like this huge black mirror at this point, because it's pitch black outside. There's no lights on inside. And I swear to God, there was someone standing looking in the window at me. Yeah. And the second I looked at this figure, it just kind of turned the head to the... I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it.
Yeah, I'm a bit.
Turned his head to the right and walked off.
Yeah.
Which meant he was going down the side of my house.
Right.
Which was kind of weird. So I quickly jumped up and went and turned all the lights on outside, because the switch was just by the door. So I just flicked all the lights on. I looked out and there was nothing at all.
Yeah.
But I swear I saw that figure. Like, what? How fucking terrifying isn't that? That someone would just be standing out in the dark just watching.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when we were on holiday, we were at the at Jenny's parents' caravan, and we were watching a TV program about, like Nightmare Neighbours and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was a woman, and this is why I was sort of sitting there, like I had goosebumps at the same time as you were telling it, but I was also kind of chuckling to myself, because there was a story about a woman who kept watching this bloke. She had a CCTV camera installed when she first moved in. It's like a little house in the country, same sort of thing.
Yeah,
maybe a bit more rustic than where you're living, because you're not in the sticks completely, are you?
No.
Out near, you're sort of near.
But a high-speed train's like a spitting distance from me.
Yeah, exactly. So you're within
the
kind of
not too far away.
Yeah, so you're kind of within reach of sort of developed areas, as it were.
Yes, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But there was this woman. She put CCTV up, and she was watching. And on this CCTV camera, this bloke would sort of every day he'd walk up past the house, and every day he'd sort of linger a little bit more, like for a little bit longer, and then sort of walk on. And one day she sort of watched. She just happened to catch him on the camera, and he was pulling his cock out and just leaving it there, just like, not even playing with it or anything, just dangling, and then he'd just walk off. And when you were telling that story, as much as I was sitting there going, "Oh, this is going to be a freaky one," I was sort of thinking, "Or he's going to tell me the bloke just had his cock and balls out."
I was intrigued for a moment, Rob, but right at the end, goodness.
Sorry.
Talk about droppers from a height.
Yeah. There was
I can't help the story, Paul.
Have you seen this?
You can help bloody telling it.
I can.
Have you seen this spate of creepy clown sightings?
I've heard of them. I haven't actually watched any.
There's some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Weird stuff.
It's a meme, isn't it?
It is, but it's getting more and more sinister.
Yeah, they do, because like Slender Man started off as a meme, and now it's like it's an urban legend now.
Yeah, that's quite frightening.
Yeah, but that's, like I say, it's all born out of complete bollocks. It was a stupid sort of ghost story character that kids on the internet made up.
What, Slender Man?
But it's the fact that they can tell this story with such, there are some incredibly creative minds. There's a really good. I've talked about how I spend a fair bit of time on Reddit just browsing fun stuff. There's a subreddit which I don't read very often because it is, as the name suggests, it's called No Sleep.
Right.
And what they do is people try and write short stories that are designed to creep people out to the maximum possible effect. Oh. And some of them are superb. You dig them a lot, I think, especially if you read it in a sort of well-lit area hours before you had to go to bed.
Yeah.
Or if you didn't care about sleep that day.
I would need that because I get weirded out quite easy.
Yeah, but there's also one called Writing Prompts, and that one's very much more. What's the word? It's much less. It's not designed to be a horror thing. It's just I'll read you a synopsis, because what they do is somebody, the OP as it's called, the sort of, I don't know what it stands for, original poster, I guess.
Right.
Will give a synopsis of what they want the people, and then it's up to somebody to take that concept and write something around it. And because there's so many different takes on it, it ends up with hundreds of completely different takes, and they go off in completely different directions. So let's find a good. I'll go to the top ones for the week or something like that. Oh, that's amazing. So, writing prompt. Adam and Eve decided they were better off just friends. However, their friendship is constantly strained by the desperate attempts of God to get them to procreate. But there's also here's another one. Oh, this one's amazing. You'd like this one, guys. So you need to read this one. In fact, I'm going to paste it in. Writing prompt. Time tourists arrive in your bedroom. All they will say is, "We're here to witness the event." I've just sent you guys the subreddit, the thread, and then people just go off on one.
I used to love these. People do it on Twitter, don't they?
They're
it's
amazing.
Like 5 words, the ultimate Halloween story.
Yeah. Like that story.
I won once.
The shortest horror film. The shortest horror story was The Last Man on Earth is reading in his room. There's a knock at the door.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's just so evocative, and again, it can go off in so many different directions. But
Paul, did you just say you won one of those?
Yeah, right. They said we want. I think it was a 5 or 7 word Halloween story, and I put. It was literally something like, the pumpkin now lit, smiled.
Oh wow!
Oh wow, that's awesome.
That's all I did.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
The guy came back to me a day later. He's like, "Oh man, you win by a mile."
That's brilliant.
Well, if you could hear in the
love
background,
those.
the Ewoks were so scared they've just pissed off.
No, I love these kind of things.
Yeah. I dig that stuff. I mean, I've as somebody who's kind of toyed with the idea of becoming trying to write in the past in terms of creative writing, and I've made some progress. I mean, I used to have a I don't know if I've still got it. I think I deleted it as an exercise in stop procrastinating, you stupid fuck. Yeah, I did. But I had
was a speed. That was a good
30 or so thousand words of what's it called fiction, like of science fiction written at one point. But I've basically, because it was a time travel story, but it was so disjointed that I ended up just not really knowing how to approach fleshing it out. So I ended up sitting on it for years. I mean, I'm talking years, like nearly a decade.
Yeah, they're pretty difficult to write.
And recently, I've just decided, you know what? If I ever do it, I will do it from scratch again, and I'll try and do it and I'll try and storyboard it out and make it a bit more, a bit more. I'll put a bit more structure in at the beginning, and oh, nice. Just I'm following. Obviously, I follow Blabber the Hutt. It's one of the other Star Wars podcasts out there, fine folks. And they've just been to an Irish blogging awards where they've won third prize.
Oh,
which is really cool.
That's good.
Yeah, that's brilliant, isn't it? I mean, considering they're up against, as I understood it, they're up against all subjects. It's not just a Star Wars thing. It's blogging in Ireland. In terms of, that's it.
Right.
That's the concept. It's LWI Bloggies, they're called. But it's Little Woods, Ireland.
I'm sending you guys something.
It's just about, yeah. So it's just an awards. It's just awards recognizing. They've got categories, but it's film and TV. So they were up for best company film and TV blog, and they came third, which I think is incredible achievement.
Quite large.
Yeah, I think that's considering what they're
Seriously.
up against. Ireland's not a small place, and I imagine there's a fair few film and TV blogs, because also obviously they're a podcast and a blog, but at the same time not everybody in that category will have a podcast. Some of them will just be written blogs, some of them will be YouTube vlogs and things like that. I think anything where you can get on the radar is awesome in itself.
That's half the battle.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've struggled with, so we talked about before how even though I get a lot of, I'm happy with the traffic on a lot of my stuff that I write and produce and record, I don't get a lot of engagement in some of it. And that's what bothers me more, to be honest, is I'd like to have more people kind of, like we get so much, so many good questions for Talk Star Wars and stuff. It would be nice to have something along those lines, like even a fraction of that, to kind of the E14 podcast. Not that I'm dropping hints to the TSW fan base, but obviously it's. I have picked up a couple of listeners from TSW, so I'm grateful for it. I just I'm very conscious of the fact that at the moment that what I find, Mark, I don't know if you experienced this in the early days of TSW. The more podcasts I listen to, the more I find the ones I do lacking somehow. So in terms of like, I mean, I don't think you should feel that way now, certainly, but I don't know whether that was something that you thought about in the early days.
That the podcasts I listen to are lacking something as I've gotten close.
The opposite. As you've gone along, Talk Star Wars has kind of improved. But in the early days, you might have been listening to other podcasts and gone, wow, they're really smashing it compared to in this respect or in this respect.
Yeah. I feel it all the time. I feel it now.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of healthy in a way.
Yeah, because it drives and it pushes me.
Plus, it's not, we're not, people can tell we're not, I mean, people should be able to tell, hopefully, that we're not egomaniacs anyway, but it certainly cements it when we're constantly self-doubting and neurotic.
I'm not cut out to be satisfied with anything I do. That's what motivates me. I always trying to push to develop sort of in certain areas, and with this show it definitely is. I'm always tuning bits and pieces, things that I look at, but I'm terrified of it at the same time. When I change anything, I'm always looking at it the following week thinking, have I changed that, and is it has it done damage?
Spent the last week sitting there going, "Fuck, have I really screwed this up with this whole toy box brand?" I don't think. I mean, looking at it objectively as best I can, because obviously I'm invested. I think it's a sensible move. I just wonder whether or not I've done it in the right way. That sort of thing. I mean, I'm doing a lot of. I'm making use of Twitter polls a lot to try and gauge what people who take an interest in the content like. So at the moment, I'm asking what they prefer in terms of video game videos. Do they prefer more frequent, shorter ones, or the opposite? Do they like one every now and then, but it's really long? And the results are interesting, actually.
You can put them on YouTube as well, the polls.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, you can run polls in your cards.
I did not know that.
I did one when I did the Lego Let's
Force
Play.
Awakens, yeah.
I put a card on screen there saying, would you be interested in seeing more of this? And no one said anything, so I thought, all right, I'll save myself for 30 quid.
Well, fuck you.
I've just sent you guys an email. Have you received it?
Let me just have a quick look.
Because I'm a little bit...
Your emails normally take about 24 hours to come through.
I have been having some problems with one of my email addresses.
I lie. I've got an email.
Right, I've just sent you the first 3 chapters of a story I've been working on.
Oh, okay, nice.
But this is something that it kind of ties into what we were just saying about creative fire.
Yeah.
I started this last year. I'd had an idea when I was at an event, and this lady that I've known since I was a little kid was there, and she's really got quite severe dementia, and I found it deeply, deeply troubling. Because she was such a pleasant lady, as I remember, and it seemed so sad. But it inspired me to start thinking about the condition, and it grew into something that has become this story, which I've sent to you. It wasn't called Repeating in its first drafts, but Paul, you know Scott, who we kicked a couple of ideas around with.
Yeah,
I was kind of talking about this story to Scott, and I'd said, I don't want to tell you too much about it because I'm afraid it's going to steal the fire for this thing, and I won't stop, and I will stop writing. I told him that on the 15th on September last year, so September 15, and that will be the date on this last draft because I was right. As soon as I told him about the story, it killed it, and I didn't write anymore. But feel free to have a little read through that. But I just thought I might read the first part now.
Okay, go ahead.
So the story's called Repeating, and this is the sort of prologue, I guess.
Right.
Have you ever wondered why you remember certain events more clearly than others? Not the landmark events like births and deaths, but the seemingly innocuous events like a moment in class as a child or sitting quietly on a bus. Nothing really happened to mark that moment in time. They're just moments that stay with us for some random reason. But what if I told you these moments aren't random? What if I told you they were very important indeed? You just didn't know it yet. Chapter 1 is called The First Time It Happened.
Okay.
So obviously I'm not going to read the whole thing because this isn't
that's fine.
Audio book. But
yeah, obviously also you'd be putting it in public domain as well.
Yeah. But this was written a year ago.
Yes.
And you will see some similarities to Matt's phone call dream.
Okay.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
Oh, cool.
There's some stuff in there. And it was the whole idea of this story. I'll probably have to read through this because I don't know if there's more somewhere else that I just haven't put together yet. But
okay.
I think, I think there's enough in there for you to get the idea that I'm playing around with the idea of what dementia might actually be.
Okay, interesting.
Yes,
I would be when it comes through. I will read that with keen interest. At the moment, I'm still waiting for it to turn up.
Oh, I'm finished.
Oh, you're already done? Okay.
No.
Wow.
You've got it though, Paul. It's come through, yes?
I've got it. Yeah.
Oh, you mess with me, Paul.
Okay.
You crazy loon.
That's your homework for the week.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Have we done enough for the After Darkside? I think we've got...
we're recording.
We've got quite a few bits there to be going on with.
As a quick one, Mark, you can cut this, I guess, if you want. But just because it's a sort of speculative idea. You know, I said earlier on to Chris White that I had a possible idea. Oh
yeah.
He mentioned about Walken reading all the Obi-Wan dialogue.
Yeah. I saw the tweet.
Yeah. So my favourite episode of Frasier, as long-term listeners will know, is Ham Radio. which is the one where Fraser gets commissioned to draft up the radio play for the radio station's anniversary, and he ends up inadvertently he ends up unbeknownst to Niles, he's assigned Niles every single minor bit voice part.
Yeah.
I think there is scope for a TSW style version, which is a table read with all the characters we've created.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like
their dialogue. Yeah. I'm thinking Ham Rodia. That's the best I've got so far, just because it's Star Wars themed.
Yeah, that's good. Ham Rodia. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
So if you do
if you end up leaving it in, then obviously listeners can tweet hashtag Ham Rodia.
Yeah.
And I can set up a way to retweet that stuff so that it can be seen. And if there's enough interest, it could be something that we could do as a bit of fun. Maybe as one of those VIP first things, and then it could make its way to the main. Yeah, it could make its way to the main thread eventually. But you just think we've got Han Sulu.
Yeah.
Got Palpatino, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You just think there must be something from Jedi where they talk within a similar, within a short space of time, they're kind of talking together. I don't know, maybe not talking together, but talking in a short period. I'm not sure. Or we could just sort of jump back and forth between different bits from trilogy.
Yeah, it might be good just to reimagine a few scenes with those characters in.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be very
fun.
Fun.
It's funny because Steve was in the. I don't know if you caught how much you caught at the break while we were listening to Tumbling Saber, but Steve was like, what voices do you do? And I was trying to think and running off a few that I'd done in the past. Like everybody's got an Arnie and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's interesting to think back. Like I was saying, I could do Gilbert Gottfried, but I have to lean right back because he's quite loud. I probably also shouldn't do that at 5 to 11 on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind we live in a block of flats. It might
be a good idea to do a little sketch show.
Yeah.
So like take plenty of little vignettes from Star Wars with the characters that you want, and you can do your voices like with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Han Sulu having their discussion about the meaning of the Force.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great one.
And you can swap out some of the characters. So like, it'd be interesting to see like Arnie if he was one of the Imperial officers, or Arnie as 3PO or something would be quite.
It would almost be like that. You know that video I sent you guys last week, which was the table read with all the different powerhouse voice actors.
Yes, yeah.
Doing their famous voices from over the course of the thing, except done by a kind of fat 32-year-old chump.
Oh, there's an episode title for you.
Darkside 24.
Yeah.
The 32-year-old fat chump.
All right then, let's bail out of this
Trump.
one then. Don't say
no,
Trump.
I don't look like Trump.
He gets no love here. All right, thanks very much for listening, everybody. I'm at Talk Star Wars on Twitter.
I'm at Rob Wade Vision.
And I'm not.
It had to happen at some point.
Where are you, Paul?
I don't know. I'm just
Paul
floating in. I'm floating in ether. I have no matter.
Score News and
Movie Score News.
Steve doesn't get a credit because he can never be bothered with the After Darkside.
Because he's a git.
Yeah.
At Stephen_Webb. Okay. See you guys next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.